Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us today in this discussion session, a taster session on MA Public Policy offered by Christ University, Bangalore. I'm Saurabhishwa Sen, founder and mentor, Catalyst Learning Services, welcoming each and every one of you who have joined us on Zoom meeting, as well as are watching us live on YouTube, to be with us and understand the tenets of public policy. As we hear today, straight from the horse's mouth, we have Dr. Tarun Arora, Associate Professor, Christ University, Bangalore, joining us, along with his team of students from the present cohort of the MA Public Policy batch at Christ University. Before we begin, we would like to share a little bit about Catalyst. Since 2011, at Catalyst, we have been focused to support, guide, and mentor students and working professionals for career opportunities in the social development sector. Our support, guidance, and mentoring have helped school students, college and university students to step up to careers that move forward with the demands of the society and creating a sustainable and yet ecologically sustained economy. On that note, we are delighted today to have amongst all of us Dr. Tarun Arora, Associate Professor of Christ University, who comes with a background of urban policy research. Dr. Tarun, before joining Christ University, Bangalore, completed his doctoral studies and was with the Janagraha Foundation, working in the space of urban policy research for over 6 years. At Janagraha, Dr. Tarun steered the Jana Brown Citizenship Index project. In fact, the literature from the project is part of our regular reference, I must admit, Dr. Tarun, over the years, in terms of helping to understand the changing landscape and how urban spaces are interacting, with the entire gamut of our ecosystem. Over the years, Dr. Tarun has widely published in the area of urban governance, voter list management, civic learning, trade competitiveness, and industrial economics. Dr. Tarun, we can't be more delighted to be with you yet again, because last year, not too long back, we had done a session on urban policy, and we are really glad to be able to bring you back, donning the hat of an associate professor of Christ University, Bangalore with public policy. Thank you so much, sir, for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, with Dr. Tarun Arora, we would also like to introduce a team of real bright young minds from the cohort of MA Public Policy from Christ University. If I may request the participants from the cohort of the Christ University Bangalore, if you would like to share a little bit of introduction from your end with all of us, and we can steer the session after that. Thank you so much.
So let's Tejasvi, I think if you can go first. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Tejasvi, and I'm a second-year student at Christ University. I'm pursuing the MA Public Policy program. Prior to joining Christ, I completed my undergraduation in law from the Tamil Nadu National Law University, Trichy, and I'm delighted to be here.
Nidhi, you want to go? Thanks.
Yeah. Hello, good evening. I'm Nidhi. I'm part of this. I'm still in my first year and I'm pursuing MA Public Policy at Christ University. And prior to this, I completed my undergraduation from Mount Carmel College, Bangalore. And I have a BA in political science, economics, and sociology. Glad to be here.
Hello all, glad to be with you all. So myself Shiv, and I'm pursuing MA Public Policy, second year student at Christ, and my UG was with Christ only with BA Media Studies, Economics and Political Science. I'm also interning with a fintech firm called Flowbiz as a policy researcher. So yeah, that's about it.
Sakshi?
Hello, everyone. I'm Sakshi Jain. As my colleague said, I am also pursuing Masters in Public Policy. I'm in my final year. Prior to joining MEPP, I have done my Bachelor's in Economics Honors. I've also prepared for civil services and taken 3 attempts. And I have interned with the MP government as well. Yeah.
Wonderful. So glad to have all of you here, and thank you for taking out time, from your schedule to be with us. If I may kind of, request the participants also, we would like to make this discussion session a very fluidic, a very interactive, and a free-willing conversation, as Dr. Tarun has always, done and had also requested us at the start. So participants who are here and few more who would be joining, we would request each and every one of you to keep your questions handy and share that either with the chat box or using your microphone at any point during the conversation. So that is exactly the purpose that we are trying to meet with this discussion session. If I may start off by trying to set the tone of this conversation and meet by requesting either Dr. Tarun or any of the participants to share your perspective on how you would like to introduce an academic program in public policy to aspiring students, because this field has been in the in our vocabulary for quite some time now, and we quite naturally find a very broad gamut of understanding of public policy. But from the academic perspective of public policy as a program, which one considers as an extension to beyond a bachelor's, as a master's program, how would we introduce public policy as an academic program? If that we can maybe start off on that. Thank you.
That's a great question. I think let me just start, and of course others, my team would join in and they can weigh in with their inputs. I think it's a very, very critical question that you asked. I think public policy as a course, I think you can see that a lot of universities are launching that course. And I think, as you said, I think we were having a discussion before this. I think it's a buzzword now. And you won't believe that a lot of universities are actually pulling back one of the traditional courses like MA Political Science and replacing it with public policy. You know why? Because this is kind of the word that catching attention. But a lot of people, which they don't understand what is they getting from this course. Okay. And there are 3 elements to it, rather, that I would say that they're very unique about public policy. Number one is it attracts diversity. And I say diversity in the sense that it attracts people from all the backgrounds. You don't have to be from humanities to join public policy. You can be, because our cohort itself has engineers, lawyers, right? They have people from different backgrounds, because they know that this stream of public policy, you don't have to be, it is kind of, you would say, subject agnostic, or a theme agnostic. You can just join in from any stream that you have or any background that you've had so far and contribute in public policy making. Right. The second theme is about public policy making itself. So that particular stream or that particular word that you just said, I think a lot of people are passionate about people, passionate about helping people. So this course sort of gives them an idea how, in a systematic way, they can actually fulfill their objective of helping people. Because once they've done public policy, the kind of career opportunities that opens up, of course, you have opportunities in terms of development sector. You can go into different non-profit organizations, foundations, and actually make and help in making policies for people, right? It's not just about going out in a way that, okay, let's do something for people. Let's do some, take some money and donate. It's not about that. How to make a difference in a systematic way, through a systematic lens, you can do this. Because the process of policy making. Once the policy is made, it affects a lot of people. That way, if you know the process of policy making, once you have that process in your mind, have you learned the process of it, then you can contribute that way. So that way, all of us have actually come from that objective. Okay, we will help that, and we will be able to do that in a professional way. And third, very, very important is that this public policy course itself is a very, very professional course. I would really take a backseat when I say it's an academic course. It's not an academic course, it's a professional course. It makes you a professional, a public policy professional. It just changes your outlook, because you have to be with people. Because if you want to make a dent, in public policy space, you have to become a person who can actually convince people, or probably can learn from people what is the need. And once they know what is the need, then only the public policy comes next, right? So all of us, our curriculum that we have in public policy is actually geared towards achieving that. So all the courses that we have, even like, for example, there's something called rural policy or urban policy. It's actually geared towards that. And we want to make this course very, very experiential through and through, so that they know how to interact with people. They interact with people rather, and whatever courses or whatever dissertation topics these people take have to be exactly about public policy making, which is very set objective, which how they can serve it and probably achieve that. I think anybody else who wants to add, please feel free. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. So adding to what Dr. Taran Arora said in terms of helping people, I think as citizens, we see so much around us or in our daily lives. And often we wonder how we can change that. So I think if you take a course like policy, you learn why that problem is that problem today, or how you can better solve that problem through multiple lenses. You have the lens of economic sociology, you have a little bit of public administration. So these are the key components through which a problem gets solved at the end of the day. So instead of specializing in one of these courses, you have an all-round idea. And once you graduate, you see such a problem, or you see innovative solutions from a better informed perspective.
Also, public policy as a subject, it has a wide range, as it starts from a grassroots level till a state level or a country level policy side. And as Tejasvi just mentioned, once you're out of this course, you really look at societies or an economy's problems through an analytical and a critical perspective, rather than it getting biased by your own opinion. So in that way, public policy is a really helpful course.
I'll just add one thing, if I'm audible.
Yeah, sure. You're audible, yes.
So as in beginning, we mentioned that, like Sir mentioned, especially that now MA political science is getting replaced with the public policy. It's very much happening that the institutions are going with BA public policy. And yeah, so this is the way in which public policy is, requirement rather than, just being there a discipline. So it's like everyone, so earlier it used to be like that bureaucracy is only the part of government, and through bureaucrats only you can make a difference into the government. But now that's no more a scenario, that you be a part of public policy and you can actually impact the policy making processes. And it's not only that you directly work with government, as some mentioned that there is not for profit, there are think tanks, there are corporates also making difference into the public policy space through advocacy. So yeah.
Also, just to add to what Shiv said, I mean, every day we're hearing that a lot of corporates and all, the government is just clamping down on them regarding their policies and all. Like few days back, we heard about CCI clamping down on the Google and Make My Trip and all. So I think even these corporates, they need to understand how the governments and how the regulatory framework works. So this is where we people come in, and how with an interdisciplinary approach, we can help the corporates make that cut. So even that's something that's really important.
So the very important part is that people have realized that policy as a tool to make a difference is something which is very, very, it has a far-reaching effect, right? If you make a policy, it's going to is going to create ripples in a large scale. So that's one thing which people have realized, and that's the reason who wants to really do good, they think this is the one tool which is going to help them. If they learn the art of policy making, that's one way they can enter this space and make a difference. As simple as that. Yep. I think the floor is open. I think if there's any question any of those participants have,
yes, absolutely,
please feel free.
And I think each of your points really added to the flavor of public policy. We are in any case in a taster session, and we really want to help people understand and get the true flavor of public policy. And a couple of points which really has already struck a chord. I'm sure the other participants would also be thinking. Firstly, the fact of the diversity that Dr. Tarun mentions in a course. And if I'm not mistaken, Shiv, Nidhi, Sakshi, and Tejaswi, I mean, I think 4 of you itself are reflecting that diversity. If you would like to share the locations you're originally from to our participants, I think that would kind of add to the understanding. Yeah.
Hi, so I am basically from Tamil Nadu geographically. So my family moved to Bangalore. So yeah, I'm basically Tamilian. And through this course, I think I learn a lot about other states because my friends hail from those states. So when they talk about policy issues or when they talk about a political scenario in their particular state, it furthers my understanding about it or changes some opinion that I had towards that state.
Yeah, as we rightly said that in class, the most important thing which we touch upon is, be it any subject, it's like what's happening at your home state or at your city level. So it's without spending much, you get to explore all those things in your class. You don't really actually have to go to that place, but these people bring those places to you through their opinion, and you start seeing issues from a policy lens of your area, from where you are, automatically as soon as you start engaging into the classroom discussions.
Also, I'm from Pune, and our class has a lot of diversity. We have people from also different backgrounds of their undergraduation. And because, as Shiv mentioned, you get to know about how their states and policies in their states work. You also get to have a comparative analysis of how across the country different states operate on specific policies and how regional development is looked at that way.
I'm from Bhopal, and as Niti and Shiv rightly pointed out that whenever we are having classroom discussions and all regarding policies and all, so our opinions and our perceptions definitely are affected by the places we come from, because some policy may be more acceptable in northern India and central India, but not very much acceptable in southern India. So again, our interdisciplinary approach and our classroom discussions, they help us a lot in framing our opinions and broadening our horizons.
That's really wonderful to know. I mean, I would also kind of like to understand one crucial aspect which kind of comes in. The same reason for which the diversity matters. But of course, in a program, people coming from different backgrounds, different mindset, different orientation, they are all kind of getting streamlined within an academic program, which of course, then might also diversify and kind of channel and funnel out into different domains. We would be liking to understand, Dr. Tarun, that from different backgrounds, how does one set the commonality of the lenses that you have been talking about? Because there is, of course, the bias which comes in. And still it has to be possibly streamlined into the expectation of the program. So what goes in, say, for example, a first semester of a program, and how does, say, someone from a humanities background of sociology or a psychology, and an engineer, and someone from maybe a commerce background or a political science graduate or a geography student, get aligned with the commonality of the course, if there is a specific mechanism to achieve that. Yeah.
That's a great question again. So the idea is simple. Saraveshwar, I think the idea is simple, is to actually not to bring any commonality at all. Is to actually diversify and get diverse opinions at as much as we can. Because the only commonality that I try to bring in, or probably the course tries to bring in, is the process. The process is common, but the ideas and views are diverse. And we need to enjoy that. And that's exactly what we need from public policy diversity that we have. See, everybody, like, for example, Tejaswi is from law background. She brings in the law opinion and it matters. it sort of expands everybody's horizon. Like, oh, what is the law angle to the public policy, right? If we want to, we created a public policy and want to see the impact of public policy, but we also have to see what the law angle is, right? We have to see some political angle to it. We have to see the sociology angle to it. So all these perspectives, this is exactly the platform when they have in classroom to bring in those perspectives, and we appreciate that. And this is exactly, we don't want them to die out. Absolutely not. We want to bring in, and we want to even crystal them out, chisel them out, so that they become the backbone of the research or the kind of area specialization they want to take up in public policy later. So you have very specifically asked in terms of first semester, what is it that we try to do? See, first semester is about setting the basis of public policy making. Right? It's about what is the public policy process? How does process like about then how about some understanding on constitution, some understanding on how economics works. But always remember that everything which is taught in the course is taught from the public policy lens, right? That's something which is very, very important. We take policies and then we teach economics of public policy. When we talk about rural, we talk about agriculture, we talk about policy which are affected agriculture. Right? It's not about how agriculture, like GDP of agriculture, not those statistics, because those days are gone and you throw statistics and people will learn from that. It's again very public policy specific. What are the policies that have actually changed the course of agriculture? Right? For example, Green Revolution. All these are examples start with why Green Revolution was brought in. Just giving you a very simple example how it starts. Right? So all these in first semester, this is what is being taught. I think the people who are in first semester right now, Nidhi, I think would shed more light on that. Maybe I think over to you if you just explain what are the things that you're reading right now or studying, understanding to the cohort that we have. And also we have one very interesting question and we'll answer that later. Over to you, Nidhi.
Sorry, sir, I lost you in between.
Yeah, so since there was a question on which Saurabh asked about the first semester, like whatever do you do in first, the moment you enter, people have some expectations, right? So what are those expectations and everything?
Yeah, so in the first semester, it's basically to establish a foundation on our constitution, on how policy analysis is done, on a basic steps towards formation of policies is what we study. And on the economic side, we study all our issues on a country level like poverty or unemployment. We study all these economic issues through a policy lens. We also have a paper called Geopolitical Determinants because I feel geographical location and landforms have a great role to play in how a policy gets formed of a particular country, and it greatly influences the formation of foreign policies according to geographical locations of a country, which is very strategic in how countries interact with one another. We also have a paper called Socioeconomic History of India, wherein we get to know the origin of how civilization actually began in India and how that has evolved and how India has majorly been influenced by aspects of religion or caste or these basic aspects which lead to which have also influenced policy making in India. We also have a paper called Ethics in Public Policy, which teaches us about different theories and different schools of thought which have brought in and which clash with policy making and also political parties. So these are around 6 papers which we have in the first semester.
Yeah, so this I think gives you an idea of how diverse the first semester itself has been.
Yeah.
Right? You have sociology, you have ethics, you have policy, you have constitution. So everything, I think, in every semester you will see that diversity of different disciplines. And it is, as I said, it's completely subject agnostic. I think anybody who just wants to make a career in public policy is welcome at Christ University. Right? Somebody who's from commerce, from political science, engineers, law, all of them have something to gain from each and every subject that is being taught from first semester to last. Yeah.
It's wonderful. I mean, this is one could really catch the pulse of the program, I must admit. Moving forward, do we take Prerna's question now, or do we?
We should. Why not?
Yeah,
Go
I
for
think,
it.
yeah, Prerna, as she mentions, maybe about the opportunity. Like, so Prerna has gone a couple of more semesters deep into the program, I believe. And she asks after the scope of work in the corporate area connected with the course. So maybe Dr. Tarun might want to throw some light on the
absolutely.
outcomes of the program.
All right. So the idea that I have in terms of opportunities in the corporate sector. So first of all, we bring in a lot of people from corporate to come and speak at our Christ University campus, especially the public policy, and they give us a kind of idea of what's reality is and what are the needs which the corporate sector has in terms of public policy professional. So I think Shiv and I started something called a policy nudge series, which is bringing in people from outside. And Shiv, of course, will tell you more about what it is. And the first person that we had was, can you remind me the name of the person, Shiv? The first person that we had is he was Mr. Sharat Chandar, and he was the director of Coursera, public policy at Coursera, and he was the first person who came in. And the first thing that we all asked, what are the skill set that you need to make a dent in corporate sector policy, public policy making? And so this is how we bring in the elements of what's happening outside and tweak our courses and special bridge courses that we create for skill sets, right? So when we do that, opportunities automatically open up, okay? So first of all, you need to speak to these people. If somebody wants to make a career in corporate public policy sector, right? First of all, they need to do high-level networking, right? They need to follow those people who are there in this space. Once you follow those spaces, you automatically get connected to what are the requirements that they have and what do they do, right? What are the recent developments that are happening? So automatically, this public policy course that we have at Christ University brings in those elements automatically by bringing in those people to our campuses. For a few, like because of COVID, that we had online sessions. Now we started offline sessions. We have about 3 sessions which are offline, have happened so far, right? So all these people come to campus and tell us. There was a session by Mr. Rizvi from the Dialogue. He talked about very specific what are the skills that are required if you want to make a dent in public policy in tech area, technology, right? So that specialization in niche skills, he told us that this is what you need to have in your hone in yourself to make a career in public policy, especially in the corporate sector. But now coming to very specific, what are the opportunities that you have? If you go to any government department at the central level, for example, let me just give you the urban context right now. Like, for example, Swachh Bharat Mission, the entire project management unit is run by corporates. Like, for example, the big fours, right? You have all those people, KPMG, PwC, all these people are actually doing the project management of all the missions that we have. Smart cities, Swachh Bharat, PMAY, all these missions, the project management done by the big fours. So that automatically opens up because the government has realized that they cannot do everything themselves. They have to outsource. And who are the best people to do it? The people who have the public policy understanding. So because this has been outsourced to corporate, the corporate people are looking for is public policy graduates who know how these policies are formed and what is the process of how to suggest a change. Because you just cannot say, please change this because somebody is not liking it. It doesn't work. You have to have a proper mechanism, whether you've tested this policy through a monitoring and evaluation lens, and then you suggest this change from a systematic way. Once you've done that, there's a process to it, right? And the government will say, okay, there's a data. Whatever that recommendation that you're giving is data backed. And then they will make a change. So these big fours are looking for these people who can make those policy recommendations in a systematic way. And they've done that in a proper research data backed way. Once you do that, I mean, it just opens so many doors for you in any corporate sector for that matter. And also in every corporate division, for example, say Dunzo, Uber. I mean, you just say you have a public policy division, which very, very rightly Sakshi said, because these corporates have to also adapt to public policy environment, what's happening outside their organizations. So they also need people who can understand these policies and also recommend a way out, right? How to adapt. Sakshi, would you want to add to something there? Yeah.
Teja,
if you wish to add.
Adding to Tarun sir, like he mentioned that every corporate institution or every corporate establishment also interacts with the world outside, they need people who can take that corporate's policy. For example, if you take Twitter or Coursera, they have their own internal policies. And these policies are taken to the people, these policies are taken to the government. The government has certain objections to it, or the government has a regulatory framework which you will have to abide by. So the policy wing in these organizations help in bringing bridging that gap and bringing in that expertise. Also, a lot of the companies, for example, if you take PwC, they have a specialized dedicated wing called ESG, which is Environment, Sustainability and Governance. So this is becoming a key area of expertise and a key area of work in the policy space. So once you are a policy graduate, you have an understanding of governance, you have an understanding of how the environment works around you, human rights, you have economic sociology. So with all these combined perspectives, you also not only help the company grow, but you also ensure that your company is not blacklisted. Your company is, in line with government regulatories and government frameworks.
I think we do. Thank you so much, Tejasvi, Dr. Tarun. Is Sakshi back with us? Sakshi, would you like to
If you want to add something to this? Yeah, if you want to add anything.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you heard, you're audible, Sakshi, because this is about corporate opportunities from public policy perspective. If you want to add anything, please feel free.
Yeah, I'll just add with the quoting a recent example. I mean, all of us know that in Bangalore, the Karnataka government had banned Ola few days back. There was in the news. So this is where public policy comes in place, picture now. Because see, I'll just go a little bit deeper into that now. The law specifically says that only six, like more, it's any passengers, like in any vehicle, if there are more than 6 passengers, the license will not be given. But that's why the auto rickshaws were banned in Bangalore because of some policy loophole in the policy, right? So this is where public policy comes into picture. That public policy professionals will read the laws and the bylaws which are given, the schemes that the government has introduced for the corporates, and then we can just take out the loopholes at where we can pitch in and how can we maneuver our policies accordingly. So these are few of the examples where public policy comes into picture, because you can't expect anybody who's into the core business, who's dealing with the finances or other aspects of the business, to read the bylaws and laws of the policies. So this is where public policy professionals we come into picture.
I would like to add one example. So right now, the cryptocurrency is altogether a buzz in India, and all the companies, those who are functioning into the Web 3.0 area, be it metaverse, be it crypto, or be it any other application or technology, but should be in Web 3.0, really want to know the government stand, and want to push their agenda that government make policy which is aligning to them. So everyone there wants to get recognized with the government. There comes something like government relations, which we also do in our first semester in public policy and analysis course. We do and public administration in the second semester. We do learn aspect of governance. So how government talks in policies, right? And these businesses really want people, those who can communicate with them in policies. So that's where we come into the picture. Yeah.
That's very interesting. I mean, in fact, I would like to share like a literature that we came across in one of the big fours. In fact, Tejasvi mentioned about PwC with their fleet of professionals who are working in the ESG space. Another buzzword, it's kind of becoming an important compliance for for corporates and institutions to follow. And PwC has recently started, if I'm not mistaken, like an education series on introducing the new requirements in the job market, and one of them being like the Chief Sustainability Officer, the CSO, and the sustainability officer, and how she or he has to look into the entire stakeholder mapping, which is becoming a very important criteria, much beyond profitability in business, because you got to stay alive in the race, which is a pretty long one. So on that note, with sustainability and of course climate change, COP27 coming up in Egypt, if I'm not mistaken, very soon, and many of our aspirants, they kind of look into how they can transit into the space of climate innovation, financing, policy, because everyone is reading reports of more and more investments being drawn in, right, into that arena. So, everyone gets attracted to the investment zones. Dr. Tarun, like, what's your take on the public policy becoming a gateway towards careers with climate change or innovation?
No, absolutely. I think that's another sector which is, I think it's always one of the sectors that would need people to come in and actually help. And climate change, definitely, and everybody knows that these dangers are real, right? And everybody has started giving importance to it. And as I said, I think everybody thought the right tool to manage this would be policy, right? Through the policy, it's not just by doing dharnas and everything. It's enough. The time has gone. I think we need to have a proper systematic policy approach to it that everybody has realized. And that's the reason this is one of the very big career opportunity sector that people are looking for. And a lot of public policy professionals, seekers, or learners, they're actually aiming with that specialization in mind and learning those courses, right? With that particular specialization of climate change and all those things. Like, for example, right now, from my previous organization, which you already know, Janagra, right? I'm doing a consultancy as well for them. So I'm a consultant for them on a project from MacArthur Foundation. And it is exactly on the urban climate change, how this is actually affecting people's health in terms of what, and it's a very specific intervention in terms of cooking fuel. Can you imagine that? That's what the intervention is they're looking for. So when you have something like this, like as small a topic like this, which an organization which is as big as Janagra is investing in, or and one of the biggest foundations, MacArthur Foundation, is doing something for them. So all these things are happening, and they are and Janagra was looking for a person who was very specialized in sustainable development goals. I'm not kidding you. They were actually tired of finding the right candidate. Because even though people are doing public policy, specialization matters, right? After one year of public policy, you need to start specializing in an area that you think that is going to help, and you can just choose that career path. Like, for example, a lot of people choose sustainability, choose climate change. Some people choose health, that I chose urban for that matter, right? Start creating a niche for yourself. Doesn't really need to be climate change, but can be any area that interests you. If you are not sure about your area, it can be a skill set. Okay. For example, a lot of people know that there's going to be monitoring and evaluation for me. There's a lot of requirement for people who do monitoring and evaluation. They create those frameworks for them. A lot of people don't know that how to create that. Because every social program that you want to launch into, you need to see what the impact that this program is going to create. Or what the impact that is created. If the impact is not there, you need to probably tweak the program, or probably just stay back from scaling it further because it's not creating the kind of impact that you thought of. So all these niche skills are also required, right? So first of all, the sector of specialization matters, and so the skill also matters, because if you know these two things, or you know that these two things, or probably have some idea of where you want to go, trust me, there's a job for you. Right? So start specializing. That's something which is very, very important. First of all, the sector, and second, the skill. If you're a numbers person, build on that, because a lot of people are required these days to churn those numbers for people. If you're a qualitative guy, you can read reports, you can analyze them in a thematic manner, right? Do it. If you think you're a researcher, there's a solid scope for research, right? Going out, doing research, large-scale sample surveys, which I used to do for my organization, right? Large-scale sample surveys, so that you can get an understanding of, because every policy has to be data-backed. So if you do that as well, then you have an idea, then you have a scope in public policy process, and there is a gamut of career opportunities waiting for you, right? Then within urban, then there's something a very niche case called municipal finance, right? A very specialized area. Trust me, we don't have public policy professionals who are actually specialized in that. And that space is getting filled by CAs. So that's one area that people think, right? If you start developing a niche for yourself, then you have a career opportunity waiting for you. So how do you know that these are the areas which are waiting for you? Go into LinkedIn, look at these things which are available, what are the job opportunities which are there. Then you automatically, oh, this is the sector. And I was teaching in the class, there is such a solid dearth of urban planners in our country. Public policy and urban planning go hand in hand. So just why don't you just take up that particular option, right? So all these things is just about being updated in a day-to-day life. Once you are updated, I think you have a career path right ahead of you. Let's start specializing in that. Why not? Over to you guys if you want to add to that. Yeah. Share Sakshi, Nidhi, if there's anything that you want to add, why not?
Yeah, just to add what just to add to what Sir said. I mean, and also it's public policy is not just about coming up with new in like initiatives and all. It's about how well do you address the problem, because with changing times, 21st century has a whole lot of new issues that were never heard before, and at the same time, those issues they require a completely different perspective. A few days back, when I was coming to Bhopal, at the airport, I met a guy who was into design thinking and public policy. So I was really intrigued. I just asked him, what is design thinking? Is it really, like I've heard about product designing and all? What is public policy designing? So he told me there's nothing materialistic aspect related to it. It's just that how well do you design your policies? Like considering all the different aspects of the society, the sociology, the economics, and how well are you able to connect to the society, including all these aspects. This is what design thinking is all about. Like how Swiggy, Zomato are going to change with the EVs and all, because even their vehicles are not like coal powered vehicles and all. So how are they going to switch to EVs and all? How are they going to channelize their business? So this is where even design thinking comes into place. So yeah, public policy is all about how well you're able to connect with the current affairs, how well you're aware of the things going around you, and how do you wear that hat of to bring out solutions into the society.
I would like to take up what Sir said and want to add there with urban point and the tech point. That's the later one. So Sir said about urban planning. Really, in his class only we studied that we have, if I'm not wrong, we have one urban planner per 4 lakh population.
Yeah.
If I just did not forget the map which he presented in the class, and Tejasvi Sakshi will be remembering this class. So and UK has around 48, right? If I'm not wrong. So this is the real need in urban planning, and I think the small thing which I did was I asked my UG friends, those who are right now in corporates. I just asked them, they are from business and science background. I just asked them that, do you know about Janagraha? They were blank, because I just asked them, do you know about urban governance or urban planning? They're like, no. I'm like, Janagraha is, go and search about Janagraha. And they were like, oh, too many people know about Janagraha. We don't know. They were in corporates, and I just gave them, we were talking about the urban floods at that time, sorry, Bangalore floods at that time. So they weren't able to go to office. Someone showed me the photo of Deloitte office, how it was there, like the office itself was in the water at that time, and it's still not open. Still, people, those who are in Bangalore, are still working from home. So they don't know about urban planning. So there is an opportunity there. It's about, niche down your option. And second is, since Sir mentioned about the niche of public policy, here we learn all the subjects, right? But it's up to us that. So here in first semester, it's objective. Second semester, it's again objective. Third semester, you start going towards the niche. And in fourth semester, we have specific public health, public finance. We have prison and human rights. So these are the topics where you start going to the niche down. Or in second semester, we have tech policy. So once you take up this niche also, there are sub layers into it. If I give the example of tech, so in tech policy, you have EV, as Sakshi rightly mentioned, it falls in the tech. Energy sector falls under tech, but TERI and C-STEP work. Internet data governance falls under tech again. So again, there is a sub layer which we realize once you niche down the opportunities in the policy sector. Yeah.
I think that's really interesting. I mean, we are certainly enjoying the lens that each of you are bringing in, which is very unique. And this definitely feels like a public policy session, we are all connected virtually, but it does feel we are getting those little notes and flavors of the course. I would like to also request participants who are here, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm definitely asking questions on your behalf, so if that is taken care of, well and good. I still have a couple of questions on my mind, one being entrepreneurship and innovation, right? That is like sort of a, we don't know whether it is really a bubble or whether it is like a like a state of mindset or a curriculum. We keep hearing about the unicorns coming up in different spaces of innovation, valuation of enterprises, and of course each of them are bringing in solutions, right, to problems which are definitely social. If any of you, including Dr. Tarun, would like to also enlighten us that how can skills which we acquire from a public policy course can leverage the scope of innovation or enterprise thinking or entrepreneurship, social innovation in some format or the other. It can be absolutely from your own space of thought. Thank you.
Shiv, would you want to go? Because I think we recently had a conversation with Kazim Rizvi on this. I think you would be, go for it.
Yeah, okay. So I'll talk in like two perspectives. So first is exactly what our role is, and then going to the entrepreneurship level. So where currently I'm working is a fintech startup, and they are into the lending to the MSMEs. So right now they are into the creation of neobank. So when someone like this, some people like this comes into the industry, they really want to know about the taste of the government and what is the future going to be, not the present but the future. So we literally are looking at currently at our firm 2.0 and 3.0s, not the present one. So what they're going to be, we're looking into it. So once we get to know that this is the vision of government, we try to comply by it, and we also push our agenda towards it, what I mentioned, through the groups which are already there, advocacy groups. So that's where what sir said about Mr. Kazim Rizvi is the founder of the dialogue. So when we had him on the campus, he spoke about there was a huge gap in the tech sector. So there are companies, right? And there is a government. There is no one to bridge this gap to push the agenda of companies to the government. And that's where you come as a public policy professional who knows this policy space and consultancy space to be a social entrepreneur. And you bridge this space from a company to the government, right? And I would like to give the example of, let's say, Vidhi Center for Legal Policy. It's a think tank, right? So right now, literally, if there is a telecom bill, let's say, or data protection bill, these are the government can not miss out on the demand raised by Vidhi. So they also are the voice of the industry, and who can start Vidhi, or who can be the founder of the dialogue? Someone who knows the law, economic, and policy space can be here. So yeah.
Teja, Sakshi, if you want to add, please feel free.
I just want to say that when you're studying about public policy, once you just step out of the house, every situation, every problem you see, you feel like this can be solved. And this is where your entrepreneurial ideas that come into picture. Now, who thought that we had, like India, since we're developing, we have a whole lot of issues that can be solved. I mean, it's just surprising that Elon Musk had to come and start with satellite internet. The majority of the people in India, they didn't have they still do not have access to the broadband facilities and all. But somebody who's coming from outside and starting something like this. So I think it's just that you should be aware of what's going around you and how can you solve it. So anybody who's studying about public policy gets those ideas and eventually can start with some business or something. And also the more innovation you bring into the picture, the successful entrepreneur you are going to be.
I just want to add to the Sakshi's point about what she really said about when you step out of the house, everything you think from a policy lens, you can solve it. Public problems, you can solve it, and obviously the private problems about the businesses. So here, that's where we also, as a course, stand out unique from the other courses. We have sociology. in a public policy course. And we used to wonder when we applied for why we have sociology. And then we got to know that we really don't know people when we make policies. That was a huge gap. We don't know what they want and we are just serving them. And that goes for what you mentioned, sir, Mr. Sen, about unicorns are creating, right? You have people, those who are going to deliver for 10 minutes, but do they really want? Do the people really want in 10 minutes the grocery? So that's where people, those who are knowing sociology or the pulse of society comes into the picture. And that's where the humanities or public policy professionals comes into the picture. Yeah.
Nidhi, Teja, I think if you feel anything you want to add, please go for it.
I would just like to say that when you're taking up a course like policy, a lot of people think it's very theoretical. Even me, before joining the course, I thought it would be something humanities based, arts based, very theoretical. But once into the program, you understand the importance of data. You understand the importance of being able to be comfortable with numbers. Even if you can't crunch numbers very well, it's okay. But you just have to understand what each of those values imply. What is the significance of those values? And when you think about a policy, when you think about a policy implementation, you see how the numbers are speaking for themselves, whether the policy is successful, not successful, what the people want. So I think when you have a good understanding of what the numbers mean and where the gap actually is, you can step in there and add that particular inventive step or entrepreneurial notion there to bridge that gap and to solve the particular problem. So that way you're creating a social impact. You're also bringing in something of your own, but it's data backed, it's scientific, it's proven. So that, I think that skill is very important.
Also adding on,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
I just adding on to what Sakshi was talking about earlier about us as policy enthusiasts being aware of being well versed with current affairs. I think the course at Christ University also provides us with a strong foundation on building on which we can determine or predetermine if a policy in a country like India in a current time period or during a current political condition of the country or an economic condition of the country will help to determine if whether a policy will work or not work, because usually policies are something which aim to sort of bring an impact towards a larger scale. So I feel that way the course at Christ University also provides us with a strong foundation on which we can build up upon. So, yeah.
Right. I think that's very interesting. Thanks once more, each of you. In fact, Tejas, we've been, also all of you have been part of creating the leads for our next questions. That's something which is we truly appreciate because as Tejasvi mentioned that, public policy as a course, looking at a curriculum on a website, a structure, if it apparently looks theoretical, then of course, there is much more than just studying and reading the course, but also stepping out with the course, which I think each of you have been really stressing and emphasizing upon. So if we may also try and understand and get a flavor of the field work opportunities with the public policy program, on behalf of our aspirants, if you would like to share.
Yeah, so I think this is where the USP of Christ University Public Policy is, right? And you know what? Our department, the public policy, starts at 6:30 in the morning. You know why? There's a reason for it. We start at 6:30 in the morning and we wind up by 11:55 or maximum by 11. Our classes, so that they can actually go and intern after their classes. This was a very special, very cautious move that we had, so that these people get the industry experience right out of the classes. So I don't see any other departments or other public policy courses doing that. Okay, they're blocking one semester for internship, which is not helping because every time by the time they intern, the things have changed. What they've learned is no longer applicable. It's completely. So what you need to learn is also see how it is applied. And for that, you need to intern simultaneously and also get the knowledge right there. So all of them, they actually have, it's mandatory as part of their course to take at least one internship during 2 years course. Right, and that's something which is very, very important. How this internship helps? as I said, it gives you an idea of what specialization that you want to have. Because, for example, you had a very good idea of public health. Probably during internship, you said, this is not my interest. My interest lies something else. Or probably this was my interest. I want to specialize in that. Right? For example, Shiv probably realized that fintech is his area. And policy in fintech and technology is his area. That's going to be his area. And that's how he realized. And that's where he chose his internship area or internship firm. So that's something which is very unique to Christ. And like people come in early morning, take the classes, faculty is equally excited coming in the morning, finish up the classes and help them getting the internships and just they can do their job and learn from that. That's something which is really, really helpful. Over to you guys. I think if you think this is anything you want to add to it. Shiv, Teja, Didi,
Yes, sir.
Sakshi.
Yes, so adding to what Tarun sir said, definitely the timing of our department makes us stand out because it gives us a lot of time to intern. But regarding field work or hands-on work, there are so many aspects that we do in the classroom itself during our class hours. So for example, in our first semester, in our second semester, we had policy analysis. So the CIA or the continuous evaluation assessment component for that, it was a continuous assessment to the truest sense of the term, because we were given a policy problem to solve, and every step of, so we have three assessments in CRISE, so that's how the structure goes academically. So every assessment we had to submit one component of the project, and the final assessment was where we suggested solutions to the problem. So this was extensive research, as extensive as it could get. We were given a problem on pharmaceuticals, we were given a problem on healthcare. So we had to actually come up with solutions and best alternative solutions to how we can solve that particular problem. In geopolitics, in my first semester, our professor, on one day, she just randomly handed out cards to each group. So we formed groups of 5. She handed out cards to each group, and each of those cards was a particular sector. We got industry, we got defense, we got healthcare, I think infrastructure or something like that. So for each of these groups and for each of these themes that we got, we had to think about how we could bring in sustainability into that particular sector. So when we worked on bringing in sustainability to the defense sector, it's a huge policy solution that we're bringing in. So right there on the spot, you have to take out your laptops, research on, what the defense sector is like, what sustainability means, what are the best practices that are being followed in other countries perhaps, and how you can bring that to your country or to your particular needs. So there is a lot of classroom hands-on work as well that's involved in the course. And that's something that brings in a lot of perspective. It's as random as a snap test. They just come in one day and say, today I'm not going to take class, but today I'm going to ask you to do this particular thing. Even in Tarun sir's class, I think the last month, very, very recently, he was teaching us about master planning and how that affects cities. So he divided us into 3 groups and asked each group to come up with their own master plan for a city. So it really makes you think about what problems are there and how you want to solve it. So yeah, that way there's a lot of experiential learning.
Just to add to what Tejas
Sakshi. Yeah.
So there were days when I think this is the best part, even my colleagues will agree to it, that Christ gives you enough exposure to the practical aspects of the policies as well. So we remember that we were taken to the nearby streets and all to understand how the planning actually works there and what are the loopholes and how can we improve the planning there. So again, students are divided into different groups, and the suggestions that was shared with the class, the entire class, all of us were surprised that yes, this theoretical and practical knowledge can really make a lot of difference. And we have a lot of visits, slum visits and all scheduled in the upcoming semester so that we get that practical knowledge as well. And how can we apply the theoretical and practical skills both together?
No, absolutely. I think there's no silver bullet here. Sorry, Shreya. I think this is something which you really need to understand, that without practical exposure, theory doesn't really work, right? You really need to know how this is applied. And every semester, that's what we try to make. And through our class exercises, as everybody just pointed out, and also through field visits, right? And data collection methods and all. I think we are very serious about data collection methods and everything being taught in the class in research methods course. Okay, if we want to do it systematically. Don't do it just by, okay, just we want to collect data and data doesn't make sense. Right? You have to make sense out of data, and data has to be collected in a proper way. And me coming from the organization, which is very data, when it comes to data collection, they're very high standards. So I try to replicate exactly those in the class and try to teach them how this is really going to work, right? And they do it. and I guess this is the last semester for these people, the second year especially. They're going to apply all these things in their dissertation that they have, dissertation component, which is in the last semester. So let's see how it goes. I'm really looking forward to that. Yes. Shiv, you were saying something. Sorry, I just cut you short.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's what Sakshi said. That one visit I remembered of going towards the tour of SG Palya in the sociology class, and the important thing we were told to think of just observe the sociological behavior of SG Palya, observe the different groups, and we were not knowing that we have to observe in the groups that there is a labor class, there is a merchant class. Shops are opening, that's merchant class is working. So we just observed in objective manner, and we came to class and sir was like, okay, what did you observe? And we were like, sir, that's what we have observed. Sir was like, none of you observed in a strata wise that there is a merchant class, there is a labor class, there is a student class. So how to think, how to observe also we see through the field. That's what, yeah.
I feel that's a great format to really sharpen one's skill as well as focus. Quoting and remembering the Mahabharata, if I'm not mistaken. The Dronacharya's focus. We do have, each of you sharpening and really chiseling out, your focus area, as Dr. Tarun mentioned about the niche that you finally, would like to be. We spent 1 hour with all of you. It didn't feel like at all, I must admit, because it's been such a pulsating session. The lenses that all of you shared. Participants, of course, they've been I would say rather a silent and yet observant audience. And one final question, just to wrap things up. How do we get through public policy? What is a selection criteria? What are the process involved, Dr. Tarun, for everyone's understanding? If you're looking forward to, say, a target year of 2023 or 2024, what would be checked, or what could be the selection procedure, if one would like to understand? Thank you so much.
Over to the students, and what did you do to get in? Just please elaborate on that.
Can I take that up?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Nidhi being the recent one, yes, why not, Nidhi? Go for it.
So basically, it's an interview process, and the forms for an academic year usually open around December first week, and you apply online and you submit all your documents, and that you also can choose your times, your date for the interview. And it's a brief interview of around 10 to 15 minutes, where usually it's our faculty who takes up the interview, who interviews the candidates. And they are mainly focused on knowing what are your basic, what's your basic background, and what interests you in policy, and why do you choose to take up this course. And it's a very brief interview, and it's they are mainly looking at your attitude and your eagerness towards taking up policy as a course, and a brief about how well versed you are with current affairs. And that's how you get into Christ as a course. And this was how, even my interview was around 10 minutes, and it was very brief, very short, but also very particular about what questions they ask, so that they get an idea of who you are. So, yeah.
Also,
so there are two components to the interview. Yeah, go ahead there.
So, also adding to that, you don't necessarily have to have an overall understanding of policy because you're coming to study it, right? So you're not expected to know the in and out of it, but know the in and out of your field that you're graduating from. So I am from a law background. So I was asked questions about how interstate river disputes can be solved. I was asked a question about how education helps in creating awareness about social problems. So this brought in a lot of legal knowledge, and I had to understand how the society accepts the law and how the society reacts towards these kind of situations. So that is something you'll have to think about. So when you're answering, articulate your answers in such a way that you bring in concepts from your own fields and your own perspectives.
So I was saying the interview has two components. I think one is the personal interview, of course, and second is the micro presentation that EPs people have to give. The micro presentation can be on anything, which is just we gave an example of the river disputes, or can be anything which is current, right? What is your, and answer it from the whatever knowledge that you can have or whatever background that you're coming from, and provide a solution to that. Then, or probably why is this happening? Not a solution, at least what is the reason for that problem? Why this is occurring and all those stuff. So it's not a very, very tough criteria to crack or something, but it's an easy one. But as long as you're aware of what's happening around you, I think that's what we try to, as Nidhi rightly, that what is your eagerness to get into public policy? Something is a function of how aware you are. And that's exactly what we try to test in our interview process, right? And since I think we'll just take about 5 more minutes about telling you what Christ University's unique features are. I think that's something which you really need to understand from if people are joining in from YouTube, and why should they join Christ University, not any other campus for that matter, right? Shiv, I think over to you if you can just start with the series that we have had so far, the policy
Sure.
nudge and all those initiatives that we have.
We have initiated something called Policy Nudge. Policy Nudge is a platform where we try to bridge the industry academia gap by calling the public policy professional online and offline on campus. Post-COVID, we started on off campus. We had sessions on knowing the public policy field, what are the right skills required, and in the future sessions we are going to tackle to learn these skills from them, from the industry experts. Let's say this, next session we are targeting on learning the case, how to solve the case interviews for the consulting firm, for the Big Fours. So we have someone from the consulting GDI partners going to come to our campus and going to teach us. So that's how we are trying to bridge, and something more we are aiming through Policy Nudge. So
yeah. Then Teja, I think we recently had something which we called Concilium, right?
Yes.
Why don't you just go for it and tell us what
Concilium 2022. So Concilium is a FEST initiative that's initiated by the MA Public Policy cohort in Christ. This is India's first national public policy fest, and we conducted the first edition of it in September, towards the end of September. So basically, this is a fest where we have very creative events. We had a policy brief presentation. We had a quiz based on politics and legal and current affairs. We had a crisis security simulation, which is something like a MUN. We had a debate on the ethical aspects of policy. So all of these events and a couple of more events which were on the spot, where participants had to think about policy solutions and the trade-offs they're going to face, or what each state would require from that particular policy. So all of these creative events were a chance for students, participants, and also for us, when we researched for all of these problems, we got a real taste of how policies work and what policy problems look like. So for participants, this provides a great platform for them to hone that skill, and participants need not necessarily be from the policy background. We also had people from economics, from sociology, from political science, public administration, you name it, the participants were there. So it gives them a taste of how the government works, how they work into this whole spectrum, and what solutions they can bring in, what are the challenges they'll face. Concilium is also an initiative which provides great networking opportunities. I think one of the highlights and takeaways of the fest was we had a conclave. So the conclave was themed around technology and public policy, and we had practitioners from the urban and policy space. We had a tech expert, we had a mobility and transport sector expert, and we also had somebody who's a research associate in terms of international affairs and foreign policy, and how tech plays a major role there. So this was, an all-round comprehensive understanding of policy, and also it gave a first-hand experience to students. So we hope that Concilium carries forward and reaches greater heights in the subsequent editions.
Anybody wants to add about the policy matters? Sure. Do you want to add about it? Sakshi, anybody? Yeah.
Okay. So Policy Matters is a flagship magazine of Department of Professional Studies, where we belong to, the course belongs to. So this is a unique initiative by the cohort of public policy program. We started this last year, and the first edition was out in last April 2022, and we are going to roll out our second edition on 10th November itself, which will be based on the media and public policy. So the idea with policy matters is very simple. We have, opinion pieces from students of Christ University and the faculties. And this time we have also initiated a veterans column where we have veterans also writing on the policy issue. From the next issue itself, to all the viewers, we are also open to have submissions from all over India. Those who are belonging to the policy or want to write on policy, not necessarily to have a policy background. So that's about policy matter.
Just quickly wrapping up, I think, on all the points that were brought in by the students about initiatives. I think our course is very student-driven, be it classroom discussions or be it taking up initiative. It's all up to what students bring in, and the Christ environment is very supportive of that. So Policy Matters, the Policy Nudge series, even Concilium, they were all student efforts that pushed us through and kept us going. So when you come in, if you're planning to apply to Christ, if you're planning to apply to the policy course, just be rest assured that any initiative that you have in mind will be appreciated and you'll have a team working with you. So I think it's a lot about how we shape up the course and mold it and take it forward. It's not that, you have very specific things to do, or it's not a very rigid structure in that sense, except for the university guidelines that we all follow. So yeah, other than that, it's very student driven, and yeah.
Also, yeah, adding on to the student-driven aspect, your induction into the course is very smooth, and even the induction is student-driven, that you get to interact with your seniors first before the professors, and I think that really it helps you gel more with the students of your own course who have been there for a year, and then when you start with your classes, it's very professional, and the teachers and all the classes are actually very interactive. So all your opinions, be it anything to any extremes, would be heard and would be appreciated.
Wow, I think that's wonderful. I mean, the vibes are great. I would say, Shiv. Team, all of you, we would love to see the scope for the upcoming policy matter. If you're calling for contributions and it's open to a wider, community of policy enthusiasts, irrespective of their background. We at Catalyst would love to spread that word far and wide. And many of the participants who are here today would also be interested, I'm very sure, to be able to participate in the opportunity, because that also gives them a strong platform, to start the intervention that many of us have been meaning to do. We just had to know the people who would help us to take it forward. Dr. Tarun, we can't thank you enough. One of the key elements which again stays with us is that if any of us really want to understand the sector or a program or an opportunity that we would like to be part of, let's try and reach out to the people who are part of the opportunity. And that is exactly the reason why each of us got together. Participants, thank you for your time, your energy, your perseverance to be with us. Sakshi, Nidhi, Tejasvi, Shiv, you really steered this session. I mean, each of your, I would say optimism, your sense of the course, the motivation factor is really high, and we don't want to really call off a session with just one of it. We would love to take this opportunity. If any of our participants and our extended network want to reach back to any of you, we would love to see the scope that, maybe either via LinkedIn or through email or through a feedback form, we can actually, help them connect with many of you, because I'm sure there could be more question and queries, which eventually, get evolved once they start thinking and reflecting upon the perspectives that you shared. Thank you so much, each and every one of you, for your time. Dr. Tarun, thank you so much from every one of us at Catalyst. We are very excited to see each and every one of you from the present cohort of Christ University to really blossom into policy professionals who are going to bring in a sustained change. And we would also be, looking forward to many of the enthusiastic aspirants to be able to be part of this program in the near future. From everyone at Catalyst, Sauraveshwar, Sen, and the entire team, thank you so much. Stay well. Take care. Bye-bye.
Last one thing,
Mr.
Mr. Sen, I want to mention that is about our social media. So we are there on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. So with the name of MA Public Policy, Christ University. If anyone wants any update regarding what's happening with the course, can follow us on social media. We put every update there. So yes.
Thanks, Shiv. I think that really sums up also the importance of policy communication. Thank you. That's really that we really look forward to be able to engage more with the public policy program at your university. Thank you so much.
Please, you're more than welcome,
Saureshwar.
Please come to Christ University again and meet us.
Definitely.
Right? And that
look forward. I mean, I think that's really something that we are all excited about. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you for having us very much.
Thanks
Thank you.
Bye-bye.